Yes, sir.
Dan Bongino was a former NYPD officer and a Secret Service agent. Kelly McCann, a former Marine Special Missions officer and CEO of Combatives Brand Security Consultants and Training. Both join us. Kelly, first to you, you've seen a lot of shootings in your long and varied life. What jumps out at you as you look at the facts around this one?
How many years has it been since Oswald supposedly shot Kennedy? We got that figured out?
Good point.
Okay, so I mean, anytime bullets start flying, anytime the fog of war and all that stuff figures in, it's going to be confusing. But there are some things that jump out, and the conspiracy theorists are already doing their work, and wondering why. One of the first things that jumps out at me is Paddock pulled up these weapons. So you just heard the attorney say, how did he get them up there? How many times do golf clubs go inside that hotel? And those paid employees that are there are at the bottom of the pay scale. Do you really think they're risking their job to bring suspicion against what was supposedly a whale, a guy that's making a lot of money? So there's a human element here that has to be accounted for also, right? It's just not black and white. I mean, could the guy have made repeated runs upstairs with one of those bell carts with something that looked like a golf bag? Of course. So what seems should be very obvious sometimes isn't. Another thing is there's been a lot of talk about the security cameras, that the security cameras on his floor weren't present. Were they not present because they were never installed, or were they removed? And why were they removed? He couldn't have removed them, because if obviously security personnel saw him in the face doing it, that would have been an issue, right? So that's an issue, okay? I would think that they probably were never installed or were going to be repaired.
Dan Bongino, is it since you've worked for both the NYPD and a federal agency, the Secret Service, is it obvious to you watching who's in charge of this investigation, and why isn't there a central narrative coming out? Why isn't one person speaking for the whole investigation?
Well, Tucker, based on who's controlling the evidence right now, the FBI, it seems to me to be pretty clear that the Bureau is directing this. But, I liked how you opened with this, and I think you made a really salient point that deserves repeating here. We're at a time in American history where confidence in our federal law enforcement, whether it's the collection of metadata, the failure of the Clinton investigation, the politicizing of our FBI, this is not the time to keep a lid on one of the largest mass murders in American history. If you have information, gosh, you've got to get it out there, Tucker. I mean, how is it at this point? Think about it. We had this absolutely horrifying tragedy up in New York. We've already got the motive, we've got the suspect, and we've got a general idea from 30,000 feet about what happened. How is it in this case we still have no idea about what the motive is, or if they do, they at least haven't told the American people to put them at ease? Remember, we were the victims in this, the American people. It's the right thing to do.
I agree completely. Kelly, we learned today that a firearm was discharged accidentally somehow in the hotel room. I think the police described it as an accidental discharge. Do firearms accidentally discharge typically?
The term for firearms trainers is always negligent discharge. Now, you got to put it in perspective, right? It takes big stones to go into a room where someone's been firing a high-powered rifle.
Yeah.
Right? It was a very hurried thing. The normal active shooter response now is to go immediately to the crisis point. There was an explosive breach when they went in. I don't even know that had to be in place. That figures into the timeline, how much time was in there. But it might have happened on a reholstering. Certainly there wasn't any furtive motion in the room that the officer could have alerted on. But people make mistakes. It's easy to be critical after one of these things.
For sure. And I think this gets the whole question of, why wouldn't you have conspiracy theories around an investigation where there's no clear source of information?
There's no list.
Gentlemen, thank you both very much. Not the only attack we're looking at.